A significant change is coming to the U.S. travel landscape, and it carries a hefty price tag for some international visitors. On August 5, 2025, the U.S. State Department announced a new pilot program that will require certain travelers to pay a large refundable bond before being granted a visa for business or tourism. This policy, set to take effect just 15 days from now, introduces a financial barrier that could reshape who can actually afford to visit the United States. The core idea is simple. If you want to visit, you may first have to prove you can afford to leave by putting down a substantial deposit with the U.S. government. For many, this will turn the dream of a U.S. trip into a complex financial calculation. The amounts involved are not trivial. Under this temporary rule, consular officers will have the power to demand a bond of $5,000, $10,000, or even $15,000 from applicants seeking a B1, that's business, or B2, tourist visa. This decision will be made at the discretion of the officer during the visa interview, adding a new layer of uncertainty to an already stressful process. While the bond is fully refundable, the traveler must first have thousands of dollars available to pay it online within 30 days of their interview. This requirement could be a major obstacle for students, small business owners, or families planning a once-in-a-lifetime trip, even if they have every intention of returning home. This is not an entirely new concept. The legal authority for such bonds has existed for years under the Immigration and Nationality Act, but has been rarely used until now. The current administration is reviving a policy first proposed in late 2020, signaling a continued focus on stricter immigration enforcement and vetting. The program is designed as a 12-month pilot test to see if financial incentives can effectively deter people from overstaying their visas. Officials believe that making travelers put their own money on the line will encourage them to abide by the terms of their stay and depart the country on time, ultimately strengthening immigration controls. However, the implementation of this policy comes with strict conditions for those who are selected. Visas issued under the bond requirement will be limited to a single entry and valid for a maximum of only 3 months. Furthermore, upon arrival, U.S. Customs and Border Protection will only grant these visitors a stay of up to 30 days. This is a significant reduction from the typical 6-month stay often granted to tourists. Travelers must also use specific, yet-to-be-announced airports or border crossings for both entry and exit, adding another logistical complication to their travel plans and limiting their flexibility while in the country. The visa bond policy is not a blanket rule for all travelers. It is specifically designed to target individuals from countries with high rates of visa overstays. The State Department has outlined that the program will focus on nationals from nations where a significant percentage of temporary visitors remain in the U.S. after their visas expire. While an official list of affected countries has not yet been published, it is expected to be released on the State Department's website very soon. The criteria also include countries with inadequate identity management systems or those that offer citizenship by investment programs, which U.S. officials worry could be exploited to bypass normal security checks. Based on historical data and previous government actions, several countries could potentially be included on this list. Nations like Chad, Eritrea, Haiti, Myanmar, and Yemen have been mentioned in discussions due to their high overstay rates or other security concerns. Other possibilities include countries such as Burundi, Djibouti, and Togo, many of which are located in Africa. It is important to remember that this is speculation until the official list is confirmed. The policy allows the government to update the list with only 15 days' notice, meaning the scope of the program could change quickly, creating uncertainty for travelers and travel agents worldwide. The primary goal behind this targeted approach is to reduce the number of people who overstay their visas. From the government's perspective, visa overstays represent a significant immigration enforcement challenge. By requiring a bond, officials hope to create a powerful incentive for compliance. The logic is that a traveler is far less likely to risk forfeiting thousands of dollars by staying illegally. This financial stake is intended to serve as a self-enforcing mechanism, encouraging visitors to depart on schedule without requiring additional government resources to track them down. The policy aims to use economic leverage to achieve an immigration objective. Forfeiting the bond is a real risk for those who do not follow the rules precisely. The bond is lost if a traveler stays beyond their authorized 30-day period without permission. However, the money is protected if the visitor properly files for an extension of stay or a change of status and is approved. If that request is denied, the traveler has a tight window of just 10 days to leave the country to get their money back. This puts immense pressure on visitors to navigate complex immigration procedures perfectly. Any misstep, whether intentional or accidental, could result in the permanent loss of their deposit to the U.S. government. While the visa bond policy is intended to enhance security, critics are raising serious concerns about its potential negative consequences. The U.S. Travel Association has warned that the high cost of the bond could deter thousands of legitimate travelers who have no intention of overstaying. A family of 4 could be asked to post up to $60,000, an impossible sum for most. This could lead to a sharp decline in tourism and business travel from affected countries, hurting the U.S. economy. This comes at a time when international tourism is already struggling to recover, with overseas visitor numbers down nearly 12% as of March 2025. Beyond the economic impact, the policy risks creating diplomatic friction. The targeted nature of the program, focusing on countries primarily in Africa and other parts of the developing world, could be perceived as discriminatory. Affected nations may view the policy as an unfair penalty against their citizens and could potentially retaliate with their own travel restrictions on U.S. citizens. Such a move would not only complicate international relations, but could also harm American business and leisure travelers heading abroad. The policy, therefore, has the potential to isolate the U.S. and strain important diplomatic partnerships. Another significant challenge is the increased administrative burden the program will place on government agencies. Consular officers, who are already managing heavy workloads, will now have the added responsibility of deciding who needs to pay a bond and for how much. Furthermore, the Departments of State and Homeland Security will need to create a robust system to collect, track, manage, and refund thousands of individual bonds. This complex process will require significant time and resources, potentially leading to delays and errors that could unfairly penalize compliant travelers trying to get their money back after their trip. This bond is not the only new cost facing international visitors. A separate visa integrity fee of at least $250 is set to be implemented for all non-immigrant visa approvals starting October 1st, 2025. This fee, combined with the potential bond, would make a U.S. visa one of the most expensive in the world. These mounting costs, along with recent reports of tourists with valid visas being detained at the border, are creating an impression that the U.S. is becoming less welcoming to foreign visitors. This perception could have long-lasting damage to America's reputation as a global destination for tourism, business, and education. The announcement of the visa bond requirement is just the beginning of a process, not the final word. The policy has been published as a temporary final rule, which means it will take effect quickly, but it is still subject to public feedback. Once the rule is officially entered into the Federal Register, a public comment period will open. During this time, individuals, advocacy groups, travel industry organizations, and foreign governments will have the opportunity to submit their opinions and arguments regarding the policy. This feedback is a crucial part of the rulemaking process in the United States. The State Department is required to review and consider all the public comments it receives. Based on this feedback, the agency has several options. It could decide to move forward with the pilot program as it is currently written, making no changes. Alternatively, it could revise the policy to address some of the concerns raised, perhaps by lowering the bond amounts, clarifying the criteria for selection, or streamlining the refund process. In some cases, if the public and legal opposition is strong enough, the government could even choose to withdraw the rule entirely before it is fully implemented across the board. The 12-month pilot program is essentially a large-scale experiment. The government will be collecting data to determine whether the bond system is actually effective at reducing visa overstay rates. Officials will analyze whether the financial incentive works as intended and weigh its benefits against the costs, including the administrative burden and the potential economic and diplomatic fallout. The results of this evaluation will be critical in deciding the long-term future of the policy. If the program is deemed a success, it could be made permanent and possibly expanded to include more countries. For now, potential travelers from the yet-to-be-named countries are left in a state of uncertainty. They must wait for the official list and prepare for the possibility of having to secure thousands of dollars on short notice. The coming weeks will be telling, as the public and diplomatic reactions unfold and the State Department provides more details on implementation. The debate over this policy highlights the ongoing tension in U.S. immigration policy, the desire to maintain national security and control versus the need to remain open to the world for tourism, business, and cultural exchange.